some draft discussions, some final NFL draft reactions and takeaways, and we'll look at the future for these rooks now in the NFL before we get some Major League Baseball plays from Mark Zinno on this Wednesday as well, the first day of May to be exact. Zinno, thank you for joining us here on the early line here on SportsGrid.
Ben, great to be back with you. Good to see that London Bridge didn't fall down while you were there, and Big Ben and Parliament are still there. And look, just can't get left, can you, Ben?
Can't get left? What do you mean?
You don't get the reference from European.
Come on, vacation.
He's stuck in the circle, and he's trying. I just can't. Look, kids,
there's Big Ben.
Next thing I know, he's going to start singing the Sanford & Sons theme song again, and I'll be left in the dust. There it is, DRS. Good stuff. The reference is right over my head. All right, Zinno, let's go to the NFL draft, because when I returned from Europe, the first day was that 2024 NFL draft, and I was as perplexed, thinking I was on the wrong side of the road once again with what the Atlanta Falcons did at 8th overall. You are down there in the Atlanta, Georgia area, of course, with the selection of Michael Pennix Jr. at number 8 after the acquisition of Kirk Cousins this offseason. Maybe you have some sort of different insight we are missing from folks in the ATL. Zinno, what was your reaction? How stunned were you when the Falcons drafted Michael Pennix Jr. at number 8?
Well, the Falcons probably should have went left, because they certainly didn't go right in taking Michael Penix 8th overall. Look, the problem with the Falcons taking Michael Penix isn't a philosophy issue. It's not a let's take the best player available, let's go get a quarterback that can back up our guy and possibly transition and being our quarterback in the future. There's nothing wrong with that philosophy. The issue that is that you are not a team that's in position to do that. You don't talk about putting money away and saving while you're still in debt. And the Falcons are an organization that is in debt. They need to win, and they need to win now. They don't have the cachet that the Green Bay Packers had. They don't have the cachet that the Kansas City Chiefs had by being a perennial playoff team with a quarterback on the last year of his deal before you drafted Patrick Mahomes. They didn't actually take a first-round pick and then reach back into the second round, back into the end of the first round, and take a quarterback like the Green Bay Packers did. This is a team that has no success. You can't talk about succession when you don't have success. So you have to have some measure of success first before you talk about succession, and the Falcons don't. The bigger issue here, guys, is this whole plan and this whole execution of it is shrouded with supposition and assumption above all else. Like the idea that the Falcons of all teams, and I don't say this to denigrate them other than just that it's a historical fact, the Falcons of all teams could sit there and go, well, we're not going to be picking in the top 10 or anytime soon. What? I'm sorry. This is the team that had never had back-to-back winning seasons prior to Matt Ryan showing up, and you've now declared that you won't be drafting in the top 10 anytime soon. Really? Really? You're one play away from your entire season going in a completely different direction. I don't wish it to happen, but if their starting left tackle, Jake Matthews, blows out a knee in training camp, how's the season going to look? Completely different than it would have. I mean, that's how fragile the NFL is. And in a league that is not for long, where everything goes upside down year to year, the idea that you can suppose there will be no other quarterbacks to draft and we won't be drafting in the top 10 anytime soon to go get one, it's poor assumptions. It's bad management. It was derelict decision-making across the board by the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, and there's no real way you can spin this, too, because sometimes you take that litmus test in the first round. And I always say this, that I do truly believe that if you just let your fan base pick your first-round pick, they probably would outdraft the front office and the general manager long-term here. Now, granted, rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, the public's not doing that. But having said that, you take a quarterback at number 8. If you didn't sign Kirk Cousins, I don't think anybody would have an issue with taking Michael Penix. If you identified that's the quarterback that you absolutely wanted. But the fact that you picked Kirk Cousins, and you're right about this, so many people do bring up the Patrick Mahomes decision. It wasn't as if they said, Alex Smith, we just gave you $100 million guaranteed. We hope you're here for 4 years. And oh, yeah, it's going to be really nice to have if our backup quarterback, who is our 8th overall pick, never sees the field. That's a great problem. I completely disagree with that. And also, let me ask you this question, Mark. Moving forward to next season, Kirk Cousins, your starting quarterback, we expect him to play well. I always thought the Falcons were the best team in the division. If you drafted, let's just say, Roma Dunze with the 8th overall pick as it got to you, and you said, you know what, now we have Kirk Cousins, I slammed the door on this division. I'm not saying that they're going to fall on their face because they got Michael Pennix, but they had a real chance to separate themselves in the NFC South, and I don't think they did that.
No, and moreover, I mean, I don't know how this plays out effectively. There's just a very small window where this all works out. And the only scenario where it all works out is Kirk Cousins plays well, they make deep playoff runs, possibly win a Super Bowl, and then Kirk Cousins retires and turns the reins over. Right? I mean, if the Falcons make the playoffs next 2 years, are you dumping Kirk Cousins in favor of a quarterback who's never taken a snap? Like, is that what the plan is? I mean, and if you didn't believe that Kirk Cousins was going to be healthy enough to play, what did you give him $180 million for? If you were that concerned about his injury, why would you pay somebody that you have valid injury concerns over? So let's say Kirk Cousins is behind in his rehab and can't start week 1. And Michael Pennix comes in and starts the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. They go 4-1, 5-1. Are you benching him to put Kirk Cousins in because you paid him $100? Like, there's no – why would you manufacture a quarterback controversy? The narrative about Kirk Cousins, which I don't buy into, Kirk Cousins can't win in primetime. Let the Falcons lose their first primetime game with Kirk Cousins. You know what's going to be screaming from the stands? Because, guys, look, I hate to break it to you in case you remember, left-handed black quarterbacks in Atlanta are a thing that people still hang on to. They do. They've been lusting for another one to come along since the last one left. Like, it is a town where that matters. That's why they were going after Justin Fields so hard. The entire fan base wanted Justin Fields here because he was a Georgia guy. I mean, all this stuff plays into it. I just can't understand why the front office would create and manufacture their own quarterback controversy.
So it doesn't make any sense, really, when you think about it from any angle. What Terry Fontenot said, the general manager for Atlanta, that if we have success, we're not drafting in the top 10. The Falcons have had a top 10 selection in the last 4 NFL drafts, so based on recent sample size, we don't expect that to really change anytime soon. And if they're having success, then that would mean Kirk Cousins is playing well continuously through his deal. You might not see Michael Pennix Jr. for 2, 3, 4 years. And if that's the case, then how do we judge his rookie contract if he's going to see a second one in Atlanta? None of it makes sense. Michael Pennix Jr. has found himself in a bad situation. Kirk Cousins has found himself in a bad situation and has every right to be pissed. But, Zinno, let's talk what will actually happen and what we see on the field starting in 2024. Not the future, not beyond, for the Falcons. When Kirk Cousins was signed, Atlanta became the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South. Do you think any of these weird draft decisions affects the Falcons in terms of their on-field success just for this upcoming NFL campaign?
No, because they still have the best quarterback in the division, and they still have arguably a top 2 quarterback in the NFC. I mean, you know, Jalen and Dak are really all that's left in the NFC. Who's better than Kirk at this point in time? I mean, you know, is Brock Purdy better than Kirk Cousins? I don't think so. But beyond all that, you know, so they still have every reason to believe that they are the favorite to win this division and the favorite to you know, make a playoff run here. I don't think those things are all that crazy just because you drafted Michael Pennix. It just creates a whole level of, you know, confusion and everything else that goes on. But again, if they do hit a bump in the road, it's going to be wild times here. There's no reason not to think that the Falcons are the best team in this division when we kick a ball off in September.
It will be a very interesting decision for Raheem Morris, the new head coach in Atlanta, to make. His new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, joining him from L.A. as well. Again, the Falcons made some peculiar decisions throughout the NFL draft. But now we go big picture. How will these rookies stack up in the NFL? Find out next on the Early Line. Sometimes you learn things again in the final 5 seconds of a commercial break, even about the guy you work with each and every day. He's Donnie Rightside. Mark Zinno joins us for a second consecutive segment to look at the NFL draft as a whole. Zinno, a historic NFL draft. We talked about one of the quarterbacks taken in the first round, but we saw 6. The most ever in the opening round in modern draft history dating back to 1997. And all 6 QBs go in the top 12. But just because we had 6 quarterbacks, go in the first 12 selections of the 2024 NFL draft does not mean all are going to have successful NFL careers with these organizations. If there is one quarterback you are most concerned by at this moment, who is he and which team does he play for?
Oh, I mean, I think they all have their reasons to believe that they're going to be very good. I think that Caleb Williams is set up in Chicago very well, as is Jaden Daniels in Washington. Drake May has got to be the biggest concern to me, simply because what does he have around him? I mean, Ben, walk up to an average fan in New York City and go ask them, name me 3 Patriots wide receivers. Nobody knows who the hell they are, because I don't know who they are, because they don't have any, right? Like, at least Washington has weapons. At least Chicago has weapons. You don't have to worry about Michael Penix, because he's not going to see the field. You look at Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy is walking into a system that's going to benefit him very well. He was drafted by this team particularly for this system. And Bo Nix has Sean Payton, maybe the best schemer and play caller of my lifetime, in his back pocket. What does Drake May have? I don't know. I don't know what he has. There's not a running game to speak of. The offensive line isn't great. Hunter Henry may be your best target, and the 3 wide receivers may as well have been picking up trash last week. I mean, that's the toughest of all the situations, if you ask me.
If we're taking a look at the quarterbacks as a whole, like we see that top 12 picks, 6 quarterbacks went. But the question for me, for you, Mark, is the team that was actually in the top 10 that does need a quarterback that didn't select a cornerback and went with a top flight wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. So if I'm lining up the Giants, do you think the Giants made the right move by not securing a quarterback and just taking the talent at wide receiver? Because the wide receiver is not going to get the football from a quarterback that throws like 10 touchdown passes a year at this point.
I mean, I may be angry and apoplectic about the Falcons. I'm just nauseous about the Giants. Like, I don't know. Like, you just took all the wind out of my sails, DRS. Like, I was having a good morning, and now you have to ask me about the Giants. Does anybody have any real confidence about what the Giants are doing at all? Like, nope. I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, you knew you were going to see what Daniel Jones was worth for the final year of his deal, because they can get out from underneath this contract after this year. So you knew you were kind of tied to him at this point in time. Unlike the Falcons, who forgot that they were tied to Kirk Cousins. Sorry, I digress. But nonetheless, I think there is a semblance of the Giants looking at it going, we need to have as much on offense as possible. We need to replace Saquon Barkley in some size, way, shape, or form, at least yardage production from that standpoint. And we need to find a way to score points, because it's an offensive league. And this is more of Brian Daboll, why he was brought here, was to be able to craft an offense that actually works for Daniel Jones. Now, the Giants may very well be picking a quarterback next year, even though, according to the Falcons, they won't be any ones that are available, as we bring that up again, because, that's why they drafted Michael Pennix. But the Giants are a team right now that has to figure out what their franchise quarterback looks like for the future. And I don't know that we're going to get any closer to that answer when we kick off a football in September or at the end of December.
The Giants have a win total of 6.5, and the under has the hefty juice for the 2024 NFL season. The only thing I'll say for New York, there were reports they tried to move up to that number 3 spot, maybe targeting Drake May. Maybe they thought there was a drop-off from those top 3 quarterbacks to even guys like Penix or Nix or J.J. McCarthy, so they didn't want to take one at 6th overall. You'll never truly know a War Room's assessment on individual prospect, but it's not a good situation. And things do get dicey for Brian Daboll and Joe Shane entering year number 3. Zinno, we have some season-long props out already for 4 of the 6 quarterbacks, and the 2 that don't really speak to your point, maybe because Drake May has nobody around him. He has no yardage prop listed at this moment. And Michael Pennix Jr. is not going to see the field more than likely in 2024, so no prop out for him. But Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix all have a season-long number for their rookie years in the National Football League. Any of those yardage props catch your eye to project what these rookie QBs can do in year number 1?
Bo Nix. Just because of the offense in Sean Payton, that's a low number. That's a really low number. If he plays all 17 games, what does he got to throw for 150 yards to get to 3,000? That's what the backup quarterback does in college games. Like, I mean, listen, Bo Nix might not be all that in a bag of chips. When you're making that bet, all you're making the bet on is that he's going to play a majority of the games. we keep forgetting how good Sean Payton is. Like, I know that there are some questionable decisions and everything else, but Drew Brees didn't really do anything notable until he got to be with Sean Payton, because Sean Payton is the best offensive mind of our generation. Sorry, Andy Reid. I still think it's Sean Payton. That said, if they are a team that is competitive and winning games, Bo Nix is going to have a shot to play 16, 17 games. And if he does that, he should clear that number easily. That is a dangerously low number.
If we're taking a look here in round number.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You got it.
Follow up, BWS.
No,
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to jump on your toes. We were just coming up to that minute marker where we got to get to the commercial break. But I was just going to say that Russell Wilson threw for even more than 3,200 yards last year in what was considered a dismal Denver offense. Love the Bo Nix number as well. And you compare Caleb Williams at 3,400 and a hook to Justin Fields a year ago, 28.75.5. The reason I remember that season-long prop for Fields is because I bet it with the assumption that if Fields did not go over, he would not remain the franchise quarterback in the Windy City. Sure enough, he stayed under. Only played 12 games last year, but sure enough, stayed under that number. And now it's Caleb Williams as the face of the franchise for this Bears organization.